Let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with it before you answer. When was the last time things actually went your way? When was the last time you felt like you were moving forward? Not scrambling, not reacting, not starting over, but genuinely, clearly, moving towards something that mattered. Take a moment. Think about it honestly. Because most people, if they're being truthful with themselves, can't quite remember, and they have an explanation for that. They'll tell you it's bad luck. They'll say the timing was wrong. They'll say the right opportunities never came to them. They'll say life dealt them a difficult hand, and they've been playing it the best they can. They believe that, sincerely. They're not lying. They're not weak people. They're people who are genuinely confused about why things haven't worked out the way they hoped, and I understand that confusion. I'm not here to mock it. I'm not here to dismiss it. There are real circumstances in this world that are beyond your control. There are things that happen to people that are genuinely unfair. I won't pretend otherwise. That's true. But here's what's also true. And this is the part most people aren't willing to look at directly. Most people are not unlucky. They are unfocused. That's a difficult sentence to hear. It should be, because it shifts something. It moves the weight from outside of you to inside of you. And that's uncomfortable. It's far more comfortable to believe the world is against you than to consider that you might be, in some quiet and consistent way, working against yourself. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. Not in abstract terms, in real, daily life. Think about the person who wakes up and says, "Today I'm going to get serious about my health." They mean it. That morning, they mean it completely. They plan a workout. Maybe they do it. Then something pulls their attention. Work. A conversation. A piece of content they didn't intend to spend 45 minutes watching. By the next morning, the commitment has softened slightly. A week later, they're talking about a completely different goal. Maybe a business idea they saw someone else succeed at. Maybe a new skill they want to learn. Maybe a different city they're thinking about moving to. The health plan is not abandoned dramatically. It's just quietly left behind. Quietly, without ceremony. That's what unfocused looks like. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like failure. It feels like being curious, being open, being adaptable. But over time, over months, over years, that pattern produces a very specific result. A life full of beginnings and very few completions. And when that person looks at their life and sees that nothing has really come together, they reach for the only explanation that doesn't implicate them. They call it luck. But it wasn't luck. It was a pattern. A quiet, repeating pattern of scattered effort. Here's what I want you to understand about effort. Effort alone is not enough. That's one of the most important things I can say to you today. We are told, from very early in life, that hard work is the answer. And there's truth in that. But incomplete truth is dangerous. Because it makes people feel that if they're working hard and not getting results, the external world must be failing them. The fuller truth is this. Hard work through a scattered focus produces scattered results. Effort without direction is like pouring water into a container that has no bottom. It feels like you're doing something. The motion is there, the energy is there, but nothing accumulates. Nothing builds, nothing compounds. Focused effort is different. Focused effort is the only kind of effort that compounds. Think about light. Ordinary light spreads in every direction. It illuminates a room, but it doesn't penetrate anything. Take that same light, focus it through a lens, and it can cut through steel. The light didn't change. The energy didn't change. What changed was the direction, the concentration, the intentional narrowing of something that was previously diffuse. That is what focus does to your effort. It transforms it from something that fills the air around you into something that actually cuts through. Now I want to ask you something else. And again, I want honesty. Not the kind of honesty you perform for other people, the quiet, private kind. How many things are you currently pursuing? Not how many things have you started. How many things are you actively, consistently, intentionally working on right now? With real time, real attention, and a real plan. And of those things, how long have you been consistent? Not how long since you decided to start. How long have you been showing up for it, repeatedly? Even on the days when it felt slow, when progress wasn't obvious, when the result wasn't visible yet. Most people, when they sit honestly with those two questions, realize something unsettling. They are chasing several things simultaneously, none of them deeply, and they have not been consistent with any of them for long enough to see meaningful results. They stop right at the edge of the compound phase. They stop right where it starts to get hard and slow and invisible. And then they start something new, and the cycle repeats. And every time the cycle repeats, a small part of them accepts the story that they're just not lucky. But what's actually happening is more precise than that. What's happening is a failure of direction, a failure of patience, a failure to understand that results are not linear. They are exponential. The first weeks and months of focused work on almost anything produce very little visible return. This is not failure. This is the nature of compounding. You are building the foundation. You are building the mechanics. You are training the habit of your own attention. And then, at some point if you stay, things begin to accelerate. Things begin to click. And what looks to other people like sudden luck is really the quiet accumulation of consistent, focused effort that they never saw. But you have to stay long enough for that to happen. And most people don't. Most people leave before the acceleration. And then wonder why they never seem to get anywhere. Attention is a resource. It is not infinite. And every time it fragments, you pay a cost that never appears on any ledger, but accumulates in the gap between where you are and where you could be. Now I want to contrast two people. Not to judge either of them, but to make the difference visible. The first person is talented. Genuinely talented. They have ideas, energy, capability, but they are in a constant negotiation with their own direction. Every few months, something shifts their focus. A new opportunity, a discouraging result, a comparison to someone else's timeline. They work hard in bursts, rest in guilt, and restart often. They talk about their goals frequently because talking creates a sensation that resembles progress. 5 years pass. 10 years pass. They are in approximately the same place they were, just older and more convinced that the world has been unfair to them. The second person is not more talented. They are not more fortunate in any obvious way. But they made a decision, a real one. Not the kind you make in a moment of inspiration and abandon in a week of difficulty. The kind you make and then remake every morning, quietly, without drama. They chose one direction. They built consistency around it. They stopped consuming everything and started producing something. They stayed when it was slow. They stayed when it was frustrating. They stayed when it made no visible sense to stay. And somewhere in that staying, something began to build. Slowly at first, then faster, then undeniably. To observers, that second person looks lucky. They look like they had something the first person didn't. A better opportunity, a better network, better timing. But that's not what happened. What happened is that focus, sustained long enough, begins to look like luck from the outside. Results, seen from a distance, can be mistaken for fortune. But up close, they are always the product of direction and discipline. Let me say something about clarity. Because focus without clarity is still scattered. You can be intensely focused on the wrong thing. You can work with tremendous discipline toward a goal you chose because someone else seemed to want it, or because it sounded impressive, or because you hadn't yet asked yourself honestly what you actually want your life to look like. Clarity is the prerequisite for focus. And most people avoid it. Not deliberately, but they do avoid it. Because clarity requires stillness. It requires you to sit quietly with yourself and ask real questions. What do I actually want? Not what do I think I should want? Not what would make others approve of me? What do I actually want my life to look like? In concrete, specific terms. What kind of work am I willing to do? Not just when I'm inspired, but on ordinary days, when the result is not visible and no one is watching. I want to speak to something now that doesn't get discussed enough in conversations about focus and discipline, and that is the psychological weight of inconsistency. Because there is a cost that goes beyond the lost time and the missing results. When you start things and don't finish them, when you commit and then retreat, something happens inside you that is harder to measure than productivity. You begin to lose trust in yourself. Not dramatically, quietly. You begin to tell yourself a story in which you are someone who tries but never quite arrives. And that story starts to feel like truth. And eventually you stop fully committing to new directions because some part of you already expects the abandonment, and so the commitments become lighter, more provisional, more guarded, and lighter commitment produces lighter results, and a cycle deepens. This is what unfocus costs you at its deepest level. Not just your goals, your belief in yourself. And now we are near the end. And I want to leave you with something clear and direct. You are not unlucky. The evidence for bad luck in your life is almost certainly, on close inspection, evidence of something else. Evidence of a scattered direction. Evidence of inconsistency that never quite reached the compound phase. Evidence of distraction that consumed the time and energy that focus would have used differently. Evidence of a series of quiet abandonments that felt, in each individual moment, reasonable, but accumulated into a pattern that has kept you circling the same territory for longer than you want to admit. Choose one direction. One. Not two. Not five. One. Commit to it with the kind of seriousness you would give to something that truly matters. Eliminate what does not serve it. Show up for it consistently, especially on the days when it feels slow. Stay through the invisible phase. Rebuild trust with yourself by following through on what you said you would do. And then watch, not overnight, but over time, watch what begins to accumulate. What once looked like luck will begin to look like results. Because that is what results look like. When they finally arrive, they look like they were always meant to happen. But you will know the truth. You will know they were built. Deliberately. Quietly. One focused day at a time. The world does not owe you clarity. It does not owe you direction. It does not owe you the discipline to see something through. Those are yours to build. And you can build them. Right now. Today. Stop waiting for your luck to change. Start choosing your focus instead. Call to action. Comment. Locked in.